Swat Team Stepdad, Poems and Stories by John S. Argetsinger. There are those rare voices that rise above the clang and clamor of human strife, voices that emerge from earth itself, in the songs of wild things, in winds and waves and shifting dunes. Once in a great while a human voice pierces the rabble with truths that cut deep and liberate at the same time. John Argetsinger is such a voice we need to listen to, now more than ever. Creighton King, 7/30/21. He hated kids. He hated kids on skateboards even more. He used to scream at us for driving a go-kart on the highway while drinking. He would scream an array of insults as he drove past in his brown Ford Ranger. It was an unspoken holy war. It all started when we let off some fireworks in his driveway in August. He hated us. He would pull up and throw his truck and park to slay us with insults, his face a demon shade of red, and his eyes popping out of his head like tilapia at a Mexican barbecue. The mercury was rising when we began to seek revenge. He was scathing and maniacal. There was a brutality to his anger, reminiscent of a boss in some 16-bit video game, pure nitro with equal parts vodka drunk. Yet he would be no match for our teenage prowess. We decided we needed to burn shit on his front porch, and a cohort of mine was more than happy to fill the bag. We took off on our bikes in the rainy half-light, September dampness hanging in the air like a moldy curtain. We arrived, dousing the bag in kerosene, our favorite burning agent. Me and Travis, the most daring of my friends, later to become a junkie, approached the door, lighting the bag on fire and pounding on the door. We made a dash for the ditch, hiding in the Fiddleheads Devil's Club. A light came on. Just as the flames sputtered out in the rain and a final puff of black smoke, the door swung open. The man standing there in his coffee brown bathrobe, aviator glasses fogged in the rain. He looked to the brown paper bag with a puzzled curiosity, examining it from several angles. Finally, he bent over, peeling it open. Immediately, his head swung back like a speed bag in a boxing gym, a violent heaving in his throat, spitting and coughing. We tried our best to stifle our laughter, the four of us rolling around in the wet underbrush, laughing maniacally. I dove upward and went for my bike. The others followed immediately. The man began chasing us in his house slippers. The next time he saw us, he drove on by. Didn't have a goddamn thing to say after the ordeal. I think I realize now, some part of him may have respected us for our actions. Maybe I'm wrong. It was merely a testament to my Alaskan upbringing. When we become wolves. Gray tropical overcast skies. Humid sadness hanging in the air. Horses of the jungle. My short temper gets the best of me. My anger has ruined every relationship I have ever had. The depression of an emptied bag of fast food. Sadness is a friend of mine. She bobs with me on a lake fed by a river of lost hope. It's a cold lake and the water is blue and clear. High in the mountains, the air thin. On her banks you will find huckleberries and smooth stones shaped by the waters of Mother Earth and time. Time, the essence of beauty and true character, lays embedded in time. Grace does not come instantaneously often. Rather, it is earned. Some of us may never earn the respect we seek. Nobody is exempt. And me, well, I'm no expert and know very little. I am merely a grain of sand in the eyes of the Creator. Problems start when we see each other as wolves, taking away the weak of the herd. This is just as well in the animal kingdom, yet when applied to the human circle of life, all is left is in turmoil. Be the dove, the night crawler, the reed. It's when we become wolves that it all comes tumbling down. Yukon Dreamscapes. Yukon highways, dreams in flannel shirts, Levi's with indentations of chewing tobacco canisters. Fishermen getting drunk, giving away all their money just to ask for it back the next morning. Shooting out the streetlights with a pellet gun every time they were replaced by the city. Marbles loaded into a paintball hopper and sending the bark flying off trees. Throwing black cats into an occupied outhouse, the drunk tripping as he dashed out the door with his pants down. Shooting bottle rockets at volleyball players on the 4th of July. Chuckling like sociopaths hidden deep in the fiddleheads. I once ran 10 miles in the rain to dig up a 6-pack of beer buried at the beach. And so it goes. Nursing a hangover. Barbie doll women in Armani boy toys. Insolent dogs from the East Coast. Plowing over every perfect habitable home for condos leasing at $7,000 a month. Warehouses to townhouses. Crowded train rides, puking at the bus stop. Coming home to vomit on the floor and dirty dishes in the sink. Nursing hangovers with kratom and black coffee. Lost in the punt of a wine bottle. Sake dreams, late nights and early mornings. Waking up for work at 4:30 a.m. Malt liquor memories. All is quiet now, listening to the hum of the power lines in the womb of falling snow. Guarded by the stars and wrapped in the ebony of night. The crease of early dawn. The sun breaks through the ice on the high tree line. Death rides a pale horse and he knows my name. Spiked spurs and porcelain teeth, glistening like diamonds under the gleam of paper matches. Rousting up old spirits, some things I would rather just forget. The man with the prettiest eyes. The man with the prettiest eyes. The rubber heels of his shoes deeply lopsided and worn. A fresh notch in his belt. A miniature version of the New Testament has left crease marks in his Levi's. Fingers yellowed by rolled pipe tobacco cigarettes, drinking instant coffee, lulled into amber lace dreams by the sound of city sirens and the oceanic roar of the highway. Fast friends and road dogs, boosting phones and bicycles, stripping copper, fishing in the gutter for snipes and asking strangers for a light, wandering the streets into the hull of night, fighting exhaustion or supercharged by dope. The fear of being murdered in one's sleep as real as the stars. Sleeping on the night owl, running south of Seattle, straight into the heart of White Center and back again, waking up to a stolen knapsack, drowning out the voices with lukewarm malt liquor and Xanax copped in Native Park. The Africans in Pioneer Square drinking cooking wine until early morning, ice cream for breakfast, trying desperately to score, junk sickness taking hold and waiting on the man. Willing to sell their bodies just to get well. Some commit suicide by train or die of exposure. The pendulum sways in the jagged gray rain, and my heart breaks like a crack pipe in the dryer. cycles scarcely unbroken, handed down by father to daughter, mother to son. There is a beauty in the despair, the tried and true testament to survive, be it by tooth or nail, a force of will haunting and beautiful, the man with the prettiest eyes. Tech Bro. Sitting in my sleeping bag in the loft of the cabin, the Coleman lantern hissing like a snake. The hunters talk deep into the night over Folgers and Marlboro cigarettes. A dying breed, in a time where being politically correct wasn't an issue, which could set you to being greased up through the headlines of snotty bloggers with tech jobs, choking on quinoa and meeting with hair loss specialists. Satan's meat hook. A madness hangs in the air like a hog strung up on a meat hook in Satan's refrigerator. Country club ham, room service mimosas, golfing buddies, sailboats, boat shoes and dockers, specimens of New York and Boston. There was a desperation in life along the Hudson. Nothing about that filthy sewer of a river ever impressed me. Held in such high regard, it baffled me to no end. I sought no solace in that landscape and found it to be numbing and lacking anything close to sacred. I lost my soul in that place, draining me of life by the hour. The college kids, the sour shop owners, the uptight grocery clerks, and the assholes at the photo lab. Like some horrible experiment gone wrong. Abandoned strip malls decorating the sides of the road. Frequent collisions leaving deer dead on the side of the highway. I lost myself. It was nothing to be proud of. I lost her too. Maybe that's the disdain of it all. I don't fret over that part. It was just the cherry on top of the horror of living in a place where I felt about as lousy as a hooker in jail. So much has changed since then, and so much remains the same. I'm better for having lived that experience. Some people never even get on an airplane, their worldview narrow and severed. I am grateful as hell, just to have a roof over my head. These are just the stale memories trapped in my mind. I reached my breaking point. We all do eventually. Keep your head above water. It's all one can really hope for. New York City Christmas. Socialist-leaning Irishman with tape over the webcam and microphone types. Cutting of cracklings from the bone-in roasted hog. Fancy black coats lining the coat rack. My red Woolrich plaid duck hunting jacket sitting out like a sore thumb. Christmas crackers and confetti exploding over the dinner plates. Being served stiff whiskey gingers with a heavy helping of bitters. Just right for the cheap ginger ale. At some point, a Norwegian woman, half crocked, came pounding at the door with a fifth of aquavit. Much to my date's displeasure, I wholeheartedly dove right in, my alcoholic mind lusting for warmth, like my days as an adolescent trying to hide my erection in a porn shop, tucking it into my waistband, and feeling my face burning red against a wall of darkness. Oh, the thrill of life. Coffee was served in cups with Gaelic words. I was perceived as a simple Alaskan in the big mighty city, a city I had roamed on weekends in the early 2000s. Maybe it was the flannel shirts and the Clarks. To whatever winds of time had lulled me there, I felt at one in the Harlem high-rise. The storytelling brilliant, laughter, smiles, the realities of our mundane and seething lives put temporarily on hold. This was my bloom before the frost, before she called me from a hospice in Dublin to dump me, saving me a move to New York City. Her plans with me accompanying her had gone. She was on her own in the big bad world. The physical body is only tears, bones, and desire. Anonymous. The Bronx at night and winter carried icy feelings of nostalgia and concrete nightmares. A city of stone, greed, power, power, power. A despicable stain on the human conscience. New York City, where good-hearted men retreat to sharpen their claws and lash their tongues. Living in a cloud of evil gases and budgets, timelines, good credit, bad credit. Manhattan, Greeks and Queens, lizard people in Central Park, doing tricks for free. Columbia University, preschool for next generation socialists. Idiot empire, forget it. Carrying dreams. Roses carrying dreams about a lonely room, the sound of blood rushing through your ears, brushing its way through your heart. All points bulletin, free at last, delivered from evil. The eyes of men. The heartbreak is in the eyes of men who have given up all hope, plagued by the trials and tribulations of an inane system built to keep hearts awry, plates empty, and eyes hollowed. Paycheck to paycheck, payday loans, diabolical interest rates, spike strips around the edges of concrete planters, burn and return schemes, and professional jailbreakers, hackers living out of their backpacks, strung out like Steven Tyler. So broken by the system and self-esteem so defeated, the ability to ask for help is washed out in the sewer with the rats. The silence of defeat is forever deafening, gnawing at the heart like a worm. Feeble and tried truths of the ages, lost upon the deaf ears of tomorrow's new oligarchy. Heartless bastards, shoulders weighted in defeat, pupils dilated, withered and worn by the rhythm of the dirty streets of no tomorrow. Traumatized women of the sex industry, their hearts sagging and pieces of their souls kept in the devil's reserve. Never quite full, never quite empty, forever torn and damned by it all. Salt in the wound, ice rattles in the glass. Uncensored truths of the beasts at the helm. Politicians of Texarkana with snakeskin cowboy boots, wallowing in country club wealth, hollandaise and Cuban cigars, white picket fences and razor blades. We sharpen these piano keys into fangs. Behold the city skyline, a place where dreams go to die. Souls are robbed, best intentions eaten. Horsetail whispers from beyond the grave. Gravelly laughter tumbles from the doorways of dive bars filled with doubles and stuntmen for the Marlboro Man and Joe Camel. Fishermen, oil workers, mechanics, and bush pilots. Fathers and sons to someone or no one somewhere. The working girls thronged with emptiness, like a neutron star void of light and swallowed into nothing. Mercury swirls in retrograde, and the manic depressives and schizos alike howl at the moon like sled dogs running across the pack ice on Front Street, pretending to be wolves. The asylum. She was attempting to put her hands all over me, eyes electric and radiating sheer insanity. The orderlies were a notch above teenagers, flipping burgers, many of them younger than I. They were awful people from the heart of Trump country. The nature of this beast was atomic and subhuman. I desperately needed to get out of there. This was no asylum for that of a mostly sane state of mind. Late one night, I overheard an orderly talking about how he had pulled my file and was convinced I had fled Seattle in connection to Antifa, that I had come back to Alaska to hide. The bastard was a conspiracy theorist. My doctor, he looked 50 going on 35 and smelled like meth, clad in matching white Abercrombie and Fitch sweats, hair gelled with blonde highlights, wearing a dash of eyeliner. He reminded me of a cretin who crashed high school parties trolling for ass. It was all part of his despicable aura, and I felt the urge to wipe the slime off myself each time I met with him. To avoid a prolonged stay, I threatened to have my hotshot New York City lawyer get the facility and its code violations pasted in the press. They bought my dramatic and theatrical eloquence and arranged to have me released the following day. I was constantly being sexually harassed by Mary, who looked like Warwick Davis's wife in the film Willow, a splitting goddamn image. From what I could gather, she was a former school teacher from rural Alaska. Somewhere along the way, she lost it after her Inupiaq husband had died in a plane crash. She would approach me in the hall, singing at the top of her lungs, while trying to grab my crotch or slapping me on the ass. Her perversion terrified me, not for myself, but children she may have come into contact with. For all I knew, she was a child molester flying under the radar. My last memory of her was her taking a handful of orange peels off my plate, stuffing them into her mouth and gobbling them up, smiling with glee. The design of the mental ward of the new hospital was ghastly and horrible, like someone had printed out blueprints from the computer game The Sims, circa 2002, chairs all connected to the floor by magnets as to not be picked up and used as weapons. I'd rather be taken out back and shot than spend another miserable day in that wretched goddamn trough of a hospital. Never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. George Bernard Shaw. The Living Dead. Self-driving cars of the living dead. Intellectuals sipping wine and smiling with glee as they jerk each other off and reminisce about Sun Valley and huffing their own farts in the hot tub. Chocolate-covered strawberries and cheap champagne, Subarus and REI memberships, eating steak, rare but not cold, prawns with gin, drunken philosophers talking over each other, snorting cocaine in the kitchen at 3 a.m., speaking nonsense and feeling on top of the world till the powder is gone and the hangover grabs hold. I was never able to vindicate the use of cocaine for myself, having turned it down more than I have fingers and toes. Cocaine is for the heathen werewolves of Wall Street and the socialist hipsters of the American political landscape. Fuck 'em. Fuck all of them. Steve Bannon getting a reach around from Mike Pence on Air Force One. Political discourse surrounds the planet in a veil of the fight for truth, and behind the scenes, greedy rich lobstermen are clamping on, rousting up a profit. The killing fields of a destitute tomorrow. World War tomorrow. Smart bombs killing Yemenis' wedding attendants. The Greenlandic glaciers rapidly in decline. Polar bears drowning. Walrus succumbing to an early fate of death on the brittle cliffs of no tomorrow. My people, our land, our life. The songs of yesterday begin to fade. It is the land that provides. Mother Earth is weeping. My grandfather's bones lay atop a bluff in Deering, rotating at 5,500 RPM. The plague of the world eating at the gums of the afterlife. We are all forever on trial, the intellectuals leading the way, blind and leaving my people defeated, inner truth falling on silent, deaf, and dumb ears. The end of your life. By the time you reach the end of your life, it will feel about as long as yesterday. Death is a werewolf of our own creation. Wet snow, cigarettes, old movies, magpies pecking at a dead cat lying in a snowbank. When our train comes in, our lives will come gushing to the surface, an maddening surge of should have and could have. Stale regrets, lonely blue yesterday. It's all about the little things. They make the big things possible. Our lives are just about as sturdy as thin ice. At the end of the day, all we truly need is a hug. Everything else is just fickle. Count your blessings and embrace your own freedom. What you do today will decide all of your tomorrows. Walk with a soft stride. Life is too short. By the time the match goes out, it's all said and done. Bird dogs. Good old boys with bird dogs and expensive scotch in their flasks. Too sophisticated for bourbon. Ralph Lauren dress shirts, boat shoes, Marlboro Lights and cocaine. Fishing trips, father and son. Sailboats and mansions on Cape Cod. Lobster feasts and blonde-haired women with icy blue eyes empty of all sense of spirit. Trust funds, golf shoes and beer guts. Relaxing by the pool with gin and cigarillos, while the rest of us are sinking in the mud. The good old boys are on their way to Bali. Scrambled eggs in bed with a carafe of coffee and orange juice with saran wrap over the top. Hair of the dog. Faces flushed and red from years of booze for breakfast. College memories and roommates from Nantucket. It's all enough to make you sick. The country club is open. The champagne is on ice. So take a seat at the table. The chef is working a double to put his child through college. Likely the first in the family to attend university. Oh, these things, these bastardly awful realities. SWAT team stepdad. Looking back, I'm lucky I'm not dead. She kept her cigarettes hidden in the family van. Her husband was the head of the SWAT team. This was small town Alaska. Nobody locked their doors. My only contender was the light in with the sensor. I would wander up to his house and without his knowing, sneak several cigarettes and then slink out of the garage. I remember feeling exhilarated by the fact that I was sneaking into a cop's garage to steal his wife's Marlboros. Captain of the SWAT team, no less. I never told anyone what I was up to, sometimes making a trip back twice in one night. I am lucky I didn't get shot. These were more innocent times. Not much happened in that town. I was a river rock. Once I was a leper. A cold rain fell. When I awoke, I had the heart of a deer tucked inside of a river rock. Amo's house. It was there. I could sleep high in the bunk of the shack, the oil stove creaking like an ancient ship. Beyond the walls of blizzards, blankets piled high, dozing like an old seal, the television roaring. I wasn't always kind, nor have I always been sane. My heart swirling in night crawlers, my head buried in the sand, my love life rubble in the searing heat. The sun presses down on the land, cooking every last glimmer of hope. Greasy words from slippery people, Trust is a trying ordeal. Fishing at the dock. I used to bring home flounder and bullheads to my grandmother to eat that I had caught at the dock. Most people on the wharf considered them trash fish lurking in the depths of the petrol discharge. To her, they made a fine meal. She used to cut the bullheads straight down their underside and let the guts hang out, with the head and all. She would boil them with celery, some carrots, and a dash of salt. That was all she added, her most Eskimo of recipes. I remember her like it was yesterday, devouring the boiled fish. She wasted nothing, eating the guts and all. The fisherman. He was a halibut troller most of the year, his means of supporting his family. His TV room filled with Hustler magazines and Megadeth records. Every few months, we would be given the opportunity to burn a mountain of boxes from Costco, flames rising 20 feet into the air. He had a huge gut and wavy blonde mullet. His wife used snuff. Daughter smoked Camel Lights. He and the fishermen used to get drunk, and we would go and ask them for money, and they would fork it over. Garage filled with smoke and a pile of Molson bottles gathered in the middle of the room. You could hear them laughing in there until early morning, only exiting the garage to come in and take a piss, followed by a wall of cigarette smoke. I loved sleeping over there because we could play Wolfenstein all night, my home computer being a Mac with lighter video games and no Doom. It was there amongst that dysfunctional function that I felt truly at home. My best friend was a quarter breed like me, but he was Aleut, getting his blood from his mother. We were constantly in trouble. One year we caused $40,000 worth of damage to the school toilets at age 9. Our teacher separated us and would make us stand outside in the snow with no jacket as punishment. The school desperately wanted to sue my family for the plumbing, and as soon as we took to flipping off the families from the back of the bus at the Coast Guard bus stop for not being real Alaskans, they banned us from the bus permanently. Our days jumping out of the emergency exit and throwing things at kids in the front of the bus came to a close. We spent most of our time not in school trying to shoot birds with pellet guns. We would shoot out the street lights whenever they were repaired, shooting them out over and over and leaving the neighborhood onyx black, with the starlight beaming down, the moon full. Each year at 12 a.m. on New Year's, Alex's dad and friends would light off a seal bomb on land, which could be heard echoing for miles. I wondered what happened to Alex, what became of his dad, his mother and sisters. Lord only knows. These memories forever locked in my mind. Raisins and rum. The smell of tobacco, black coffee, raisins, rum. Carp swirl on the rivers of death. Snow falling in sheets from the high heavens, kicked up by dancing angels. Desert thunder, electricity on my tongue, greasy words from slippery people. Life out of balance, trust is a trying ordeal. Wandering beasts on the plains of no tomorrow, everlasting whirlpool of the 21st century. Taboos data mined and marketed, sold back to us at a reoccurring monthly fee. I find my lovers in dreams. I wasn't always kind. My day feeds into night. Oh, the comedy of forgetting. Carpe diem. Rotting in front of the television. Que pasa, amigo? A rehab tale. I had just 1 week before my release from wilderness-based rehabilitation. A new kid was dropped off on the 4th of July and introduced himself confidently as if he were wearing a Ralph Lauren dress shirt and was waiting for his Haitian nanny to come and clear his plate. He had the stench of New York to him and opened up at his introduction to speak of all the thousands he spent of daddy's money on a ripe cocaine habit. I despise cocaine, sickened by its system of transfer across the Americas. The slop of wealth oozed from his jowls like a pristine mucus. He ignored me and was only cheerful with the palest of our bunch, my skin a deep desert brown, my eyes too slanted for Utah. His second day there, someone gave him instructions of how to use the latrine, handing him a plastic bag. Personally, it was way too hot for me to shit where the rest of them did. I always found my own rock or log and used sagebrush instead of toilet paper. The kid was as green as the Grinch and about as sharp as a marble. His Ivy League prestige was no match for the desert. He headed off towards the latrine. About 30 minutes went by, and me and the others had taken to swimming in a murky pond filled with garter snakes and surrounded by flies and rampant mosquitoes. Finally, he emerged from the far side of the pond, touting a king-size Ziploc bag stuffed to the point of rupture. Under closer examination, I could see a brown oval in the bag, an unmistakable fresh turd wrapped in toilet paper. I shouted at him, "Is that shit in the bag?" He responded confidently, "Yeah, we're supposed to store it in our bag, right?" I fell backwards laughing. A camp counselor eased the tension he felt as he realized his mistake. The kid had never shit outside before. This sobering experience. All he was supposed to do was carry the toilet paper, not tote around a turd. The event kept me laughing all night, and the kid carried a look of shame. The event had blown my dick off and made it fly around the campsite like a pop balloon. Forest spirits. Gentle wind washes down the valley like silk and hushed prayers. The spirits of the forest, ethereal and shimmering in auras of purple and canyon yellow. Trees nearly 1,000 years old creak into the hull of night, wavering like mass on an ancient Viking vessel. Blades of light cutting in from the thick canopy above, cascading downward to the forest floor. Jurassic shadows and banana slugs, down in the creek bed in the angelic light of morning. Fresh elk tracks pool with groundwater, mighty sequoias, their vibrations electric and swirling through the concaves of mind and spirit. Spanish leather. Gas fireplaces, Italian marble, Spanish leather, alligator skin loafers, espresso and Gauloises cigarettes in shiny cases layered in gold, polo shirts, debutantes, cologne, hair transplants, Lexus in the driveway, Ducati in the garage, stockbrokers with fridges full of rotting Chinese food, cocaine laid out on a mirror, and the shades drawn to blot out the sun. Mid-century furniture, secret societies built out of an Ivy League arrogance, the madness of it all, sickening bad medicine, broken promises, people watching at airports, drunk at the bar listening to good old boys talk fiscal quarterlies, and side-eyeing couples sitting in absolute silence, their love vanished long ago, like sand running through your hands and scattering in a gentle breeze by the sea. We ponder our breakups like crime scene investigators, red yarn, old photographs, lonely hearts, gripping pieces of broken life raft, and headed directly toward the whirlpool of no tomorrow. Love is fleeting, warped and forever falling away from us. We chase it, but we will never catch up. The doomsday clock ticks. Count your blessings, cherish your love. You never know when you might wake up one day and it will all be gone. That's the thing about tomorrow. We never know what she will bring. Green tea. Japanese gardens. Cumulus clouds looking like spun sugar. The hiss of kerosene lanterns lulling me into dreams along the Kobuk River. Sit-ups in jail with broken ribs, toes locked beneath the bottom bunk, ravaged and beaten, exhausted. Cicadas drilling into our ear canals, sawing deep into our jawbones, destined to become washed out in the oncoming storm. The haunted symphony of South Texas, cockroaches in the kitchen, scattering in the flick of a light. Older tomorrows, shrouds of paranoia, illicit voices. The golden rule is this, folks. Never trust a man with no ass. The silt of yesterday. I envision myself as a river stone, the silt passing over me from the glacier high on the mountain. The wind tumbles through the branches, rattling them like shuffled cards. Sleeping lady is in a deep sleep, bathed in the light of early morning dreams. A sip of warm tea and another cigarette, the half-light of late July, haunted like Virginia Woolf. The sea was calling my name. Pungent fumes of white sage trail down the back of my throat. Follow the beat of your heart. The trees are speaking. You just aren't listening. Watching pay-per-view cage match fights and drinking bathtub gin. The elders ignored by young men who should be delivering meat and firewood. Passing the bottle back and forth until an argument begins, and then they're on with fist fighting in the dirty street. Passers-by just shake their heads, immune and unaffected, stooped over, digging in the gutter for snipes to dry by the fire on a rainy August Sunday. The clouds low and a depression hanging in the air like swine on a meat hook in Satan's refrigerator. Full moon fading fast. Denali awash in starlight. The aurora borealis painted above the sea ice in an ancient array. My shoulders bobbing with lukewarm tears. The salt runs onto my tongue, and I wipe my eyes and blow my nose into my sweater, reaching for a cigarette and sighing deeply. Self-love is a desert highway taken low on gas and limited in water. My suicide note sits in a manila folder high on a shelf in a psychiatrist's office on Bourne Avenue in Seattle, Washington. It's a wonder I'm even sitting here. Elliott Bay was calling my name, and I nearly committed to drowning myself. The pills didn't do the job. I long to let the light into my life. I have suffered long enough. Ho, 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 Merry fucking Christmas. Noel, you bastards. The span of an Arctic winter's day had come to its quiet end as the sun dipped below the crimson tree line. Smoke drifted on the back of a brisk wind and came to rest under the nostrils of the old man as he sat up on the frozen bank of the Kobuk. His slanted eyes scanned out across the majestic plain of milky white. The snow hook lay firmly gripped into the flesh of the solid ground. Gray hair hung down over his leathery almond-brown face. Raven sat upon a branch of a birch tree 2 stone throws away. He opened his jet-black beak and cawed off into the silence of a perfect world, a paradise lost. The old man unhooked his sled from the earth and glided back to camp and off into the crimson sun. The howl of the wind picked up. John Argetsinger, September 27th, 2000.